My name is Kimberly Svevo, and I'm the Executive Director of the Changing Children's Worlds Foundation, headquartered here in Geneva.
Where are we at here? You have it up.
There.
There we go.
Yeah.
Right there.
Okay.
There we go.
Sorry, I was a little intimidated.
Well, that's all right. It's all right. Here and there. And you can just use your arrow keys to...
Okay, perfect.
Sure.
Thank you. And if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and put some materials over here, and if you don't mind, maybe sending them around. Great. So, thank you very much for allowing me to join you this evening. And if you don't mind, we're going to make this a little bit interactive. So as I share information with you, I'll also be asking you to respond to some questions and provide us with some information as well. So, how many of you have ever heard of the Changing Children's Worlds Foundation? Anyone? Okay, sort of, okay. So the Changing Children's Worlds Foundation has been here in Geneva for nearly 9 years. We started on 3rd Street over the Starbucks, and now we're near between Prana Yoga and Penrose, and went in that area. But I'll tell you a little bit about us. First, we are a parenting program. It's a parenting development, learning support group, kind of an environment for parents. And we bring together the parents in a social community, supportive community, and we bring together their kids. So I'll tell you a little bit about that, but it is a 2-generational approach, and if you're familiar with what that means, it is parents may need help to really be able to flourish and do their best to help their children's most positive development, and the children are getting so much out of the program too, so it's 2 levels. And I'll introduce Diane Mcfarland, who is an administrator from Caneland School District, and she'll come up in a little bit, but she is an education coach with us as well, and she is here today. I'm happy to have her with me. And let's see, there we go. So here's our vision. And our vision is for every child and adolescent to have a strong network of adult caregivers in family and professionals, so in school and community, engaged in supporting their positive development within nonviolent families and peaceful communities. When I talk about parenting programs, do some of you kind of say, oh, those are for parents who really are struggling? I mean, they really are having a hard time. They're really not maybe our mainstream kind of well-functioning families. But this program, and I'd like you to keep in mind, this program is really for every parent. The program was developed in Norway, Sweden, and England back in 1984, 85, and it was developed as a universal public health approach for all families, for all parents. So even if you were expecting, you could go and say, we're expecting, we're going to sign up, and this would be a program you would participate in, because it was part of just positive social development for you, even, as you had your first child or your second child or your third child. So it's a program that's really meant to be a universal public health approach to, before parents struggle and possibly fail, how do we support them so that they have that very positive, successful experience of parenting? The best start for families. We recently have changed our name from the International Child Development Program, a little sterile, to the best start for families, a health equity approach. And if you could follow along with me, it is again that intergenerational approach of supporting adult caregivers and children, both on 2-generation level, to achieve the love and stability, the love relationship in home community, to achieve positive mental and physical health, so that our children can successfully achieve academic success and aspire to economic opportunity and the stability that brings to all families. So our goal is to help kids be healthy and be able to achieve from birth on by making sure families are equipped and feeling positive and successful. Equity in health is about avoiding about getting rid of the disparities in health and the social determinants, that say a child in this kind of community, or a child in this kind of family, or a child that's has parents who are this way or that way, are not going to have all of those equal opportunities, and it's narrowing the gaps. So we focus on including all families, narrowing the gaps for them to all be able to achieve these same common goals that every family, every parent has for their child, and all children deserve. And that's what our program really is about. So here's my turn to ask you a question. On this list of questions which we've been developing over the past 8 years, what's the main problem affecting children in Illinois, or you might even say these are the main problems that are affecting children in Geneva or in the Fox, Valley area? What would you say would be the most important or the most challenging problems that families are addressing here, facing here? Anyone? I know it's a long list.
I would
8. The economic problems, the substance abuse, dysfunction, trauma. Yep. Yes. Yes. Anyone else have a different take, or is that kind of a common? Pretty common. Yep. We have agreement on that. So the point of the list is also to say we probably, even in Geneva, see quite a few of these problems within our populations, right? And maybe we're not a community that actually sees all of these regularly, but there are quite a few challenges that our parents and our families and our kids are facing right here in Geneva, right? And when you're facing these kinds of issues, a little support, a little positive community support can really be critical, can really be important. So that's what our program's all about. It's not just, kind of that socioeconomic or that demographic. All of us can be going through any of these things, right? So what do you see here? You see some different faces. You see some maybe parents as well as kids. So the question of what do they need is really what we try to answer. So our program, which is that ICDP USA The Best Start, to be community-oriented, strengths-based, peer-facilitated, to focus not on how do we stop the violence and how do we, how do we manage the bad stuff, but it's to focus on the positive development, the well-being. That's violence prevention. If we can bring out the good, we're going to be able to prevent. Supporting the positive psychosocial care competencies in persons responsible for their children, parents and professionals, and to really focus on human empathy and compassion. So our program is psychosocial. It's done by professionals, psychologists, mental health professionals. Tri-City Family Services has a program of ours going on tonight at their office here in Geneva. It'll be a 16-week program. If you have parents that you think would benefit, and this could be anyone from parents moving in, just having a baby, parents who are maybe just trying to connect, they want to meet someone else. Often it's a parent who maybe has their child just diagnosed with special needs. They need to have some connection. Please let me know, because it'll be 16 weeks, this program, and they're just starting. They're on session 1 tonight, so they'll take new parents for the next few weeks. But it's all about getting our community together, the professionals, preparing them to facilitate this program wherever they are, in schools, mental health agencies, community organizations, and then working with our parents. So we all know that relationship is so important. And some of us can look back, and I'll say I look back and I think about my 28-year-old, just turned 28, and my 23-year-old, and I think, I wish I could have done some things differently, right? I learned about this program about 10 years ago. It changed my parenting with my kids who were then 13, 14, and 18. It's the potential of what we can have in relationship with our kids and in our families. And so it's the optimum relationship that we're talking about. And it's how do we talk to parents about the most important thing that they need to give their kids is heart, home, health, so that they can achieve that education, economic opportunity, and we can see a more thriving social community. The effects of our program, and this is all proven. I'll give you a moment just to kind of glance at some of the expected effects, both in the caregiver as well as in the child. And you might ask, how do we know this? Well, we're finding the superpowers of our parents. We're finding the superpowers. You can, some of these programs, almost all of them, Batavia, Elgin, Aurora, Bloomingdale, St. Charles, NIU, and DeKalb, we're helping the parents find their superpowers so that our kids will find their superpowers too, right? That's what our program's about, strengthening, finding the strengths and the positives so that our kids as well as parents see themselves positively and can do so much. Well, our program is effective, and it's been effective in 40 countries, over 40 countries around the world, because it is evidence-based informed, intergenerational approach, trauma-informed, community-based. Our facilitators belong in our communities. They belong in that school or in that mental health agency. They know their communities. Peer facilitated, strengths-based. And here's some of the evaluation results. We work with Northwestern University to actually do this evaluation. And in that gold column, the significance there says that it is beyond any doubt. Because if there's, for instance, the perceived quality of life, 0.031, means, okay, there's a little bit of a, maybe it was a different factor that influenced it. But when you see the rest of the results, there's beyond a doubt the change from pre to post test for our program shows statistically significant changes in all of these areas. Stronger parents, and at the bottom, you can see reduction of physical assault and psychological aggression. And this is pre and post test from our parents. So that's kind of getting into the weeds. But really, the evaluation's conclusion are more effective positive parenting. Parents not thinking their kids are having so many difficulties and that their kids are problems, but understanding that all of our kids have issues. And in fact, maybe Johnny just finished, he just got over that challenge that you have today with Susie. But we're all parents, and we're all dealing with all of these problems, all of these challenges all the time. So, reduced parental depression, anxiety, more joy in family relationships, greater chance for our kids to thrive academically, and stronger long-term family relationships, which are protective factors. And it's simple. We train just a couple people in each community, and by training a few facilitators, we can actually offer the program broadly to full communities. Our focus, emotional, social emotional learning, you know, that kind of attachment, that bonding, that trust and relationship, so that our kids can learn better, so that our kids can self-regulate, so that our kids can really respond better to positive discipline. And our parents get it better and better as they do it with their kids. So as parents, we're learning to really enhance our skills as well. So we talk about, these are our key 8 guidelines, and I'm sharing, again, it's the weeds, but it's to show you that this isn't a simple program that says all of this is easy when we're happy, when things are going really well. We talk to our parents about, how do you do this when you just lost your job? How do you do this when you are depressed? How do you do it when you've lost a job, or how do you do it when someone close to you is seriously ill? How do we do these things that our kids need from us when it's really hard? That's what we work on in our program. We talk about how easy it is to have that distance from our kids, pushing them out, letting them go outside of, you know, our protective zone, right? But how it's our responsibility to bring them back in. When we get unhappy or impatient with our kids, they're protected if they're close to us, if we've got that positive relationship. And we do it in fun ways. We do it it's a very experiential program where we talk about, there's Michelle Clark, Tri-City Family Services down there when Andrew was quite young. So our sub-theme is helping parents see the good in themselves. Every parent, every child, a superhero, helping our parents see the good in their kids as well. Helping parents flourish, because then their kids can flourish too. So helping our parents see themselves as superheroes, no matter where we are, because we know that by doing these programs, we are providing greater strength to our parents, and that's going to be a key protective factor for their children. There are many risk factors. I won't go through, but you can glance at that. Risk factors increase the probability that people become violent. And again, it can be that psychological aggression, not always physical violence. But there are protective factors. And we do all of these things. We support families for the individual family protective factors, the peer and social protective factors. Although we know all of this, however, we also know that more than 50% of adolescents have had at least one adverse childhood experience, which could be violence, but could also just be that they've lived in a family where there's been divorce, with a parent who died, who served time in jail, was mentally ill, substance abuse, again, violence within the home and within the community. Our kids are experiencing this, and within our homes, we need to be equipped to be able to support them, again, to flourish. We know that 60% of American children were exposed to violence, crime, or abuse in their homes, and we know what the results are. We know what the impact of that is on our kids. It's depression, anxiety, post-traumatic disorders, failing and having difficulty in school, abusing drugs and alcohol, becoming delinquent, and engaging in criminal behavior. Do we see this? Again, I'm not being so interactive. How many of us see this in our communities, right? So when we talk about prevention, we're really talking about how do we strengthen, how do we build in order to break the cycle, break a cycle of child abuse, school failure, violence, mass incarceration. And you as a city council should appreciate that last point here. Taxpayers saving $7 to $10 for every dollar invested. It's important. I mean, all of you, I think, can see the financial investment as well. But it's about how do we take the everyday, how do we take what our parents are doing every day and help raise them up a little bit so that they see themselves as confident and being able to do so much. From YWCAs to the Chicago Children's Advocacy Center, King County Adult Justice Center, we've worked with over 150 parents in the St. Charles Jail at this point, as well as in schools. I'm going to hand it over can we have 2 minutes to Diane from our...
Certainly.
Yes?
I'm just going to finish up very quickly with...
You can approach the mic before. So.
My name is Diane Mcfarland. After 30-some years in education, I've heard a lot about what works with kids and what doesn't work with kids. This is more than just a curriculum. This is an interactive, universal opportunity for people to engage in what makes us much more similar than different. And one of the things that I always say is, how many people are parents in this room? So it's the hardest job, and it's the one we are not trained for at all. We're supposed to magically, hopefully, have some of these skills if we had good experiences ourselves or if we've observed. But there isn't anything. So when you get a group of parents together and you have an opportunity to learn from each other, what I can tell you as an educator, that is the very best way to learn. Rather than stand on a stage and teach and lecture, we have these parents that are actually the teachers teaching each other. And they say that there's challenges in their lives, and with our curriculum, we get to support those challenges. And to have a parent not in isolation anymore, to say, oh my gosh, I thought I really was the only person in the entire universe that was experiencing this. What we know from the best educational practices in schools is that the more you can have relationships and the more you can have trusting, empathic relationships with kids, and if you transfer that to parents, the more you will be able to learn, and the more sustained that learning will take place. So this curriculum is not magic, but it's certainly very powerful, and it works, because we do have evidence that says it works. So truly, if you or anyone that you know is interested, please contact us. We do have groups going, both in the facilitated training and also with the parent groups, but it is a dynamic educational opportunity that every single person can relate to. So thank you so much for allowing us to come tonight and chatting with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add my thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if there are any questions.
Are there any questions from the dais? Comments? Alderman Clements?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for the presentation. So, just a couple of quick questions. How do parents find you, or how do you find them? I mean, we could all use help and all learn, but how do you really find people that you think would benefit the most from this? And do you guys also, do you have anything to do with providing services for people who are court-ordered to get help?
Thank you for asking that question. Yes. So we do have a contract with DCFS. And so and really that's only been in the last couple of years. It's mainly been a voluntary program. Parents come because they see that it's going to help their kids. But we do have a contract with DCFS, and so if there are court-mandated parents intact or trying to get their kids back, or we do have a contract where we meet the need, and so they support us to provide programs to those parents. But otherwise, it really depends. In a school, we will, and it's mainly relationship. So if we've got a couple of teachers in a school and parents have a relationship with them and they say, we've got a program, come to our program, parents will be there. U46 right now, I think we're over 20 parents. D131 at the Aurora School, I think they have over 25 parents who've just signed up for the program that's going there right now. So what we do is we train the teachers or the social workers, nurses. We train people within the schools, and then those trusted community members, they're the ones who actually provide the program to their community of parents. And so often, like with Lyle, in our program with Lyle, there will be flyers and posters, there will be open house, and there will be teachers' meetings where people will be encouraged, but sometimes there will be a social worker that will encourage certain parents a little bit more because they know they're struggling and they know that they'll need a little extra help. And usually it's that personal invitation that kind of says, what we say is from stigma to status. You know, you're coming not because you're a bad parent, but you're coming because you want to be the best parent and you want the best for your kids. So it's really, it needs to be relationship based to really get the parents that we want there who otherwise wouldn't come. Yeah. Good.
Anything else? I've got a question for you. First of all, thank you for the presentation. Your passion is obvious.
Thank you.
I was wondering, the geographic area that you serve is?
We have done programs from Rogers Park to Calumet City to Bloomington. The program, so we're in Cook County, we've done the Juvenile Detention Center, Cook County, DuPage, we've worked in Lyle, Bloomingdale, and Kane County, from definitely down to Oswego up to Carpentersville, Schaumburg, and now we have, because Northern Illinois University got a grant to bring us to DeKalb, so we actually are on our second program in DeKalb. But we do have a couple of programs in Wisconsin, and we've had them in New Orleans from other, just colleagues, professionals who've wanted to bring the program to other places as well. So anyone who wants to be trained, that we will support them to bring the program, which is the beauty. It's not, we only have a group who has to go to every program. We'll train the people in the community so that they can bring the program and make it sustainable in their communities.
Very good. And describe your funding model.
To begin, we were funded largely with the Pritzker Early Childhood Foundation for 4 years. They handed us over to another funder, the Bright Promises Foundation. So a good amount of our grants has come through that. We've got only another year and a half left of Bright Promises Foundation grants. So we have Wells Fargo grants, we have other small grants, we go to Rotary clubs and get the service community donations, we have a fundraiser. But mostly the model has been changing in the last couple of years. So for instance, at the jail, after doing a few programs one at a time, they've given us a year contract. So we go quarterly to a different pod. Juvenile detention, it's a contract. Lyle, Bloomingdale, District 93, it's a contract now. So we try to transition where we've helped get funding to more sustainable contracts. And that's difficult because our schools are all struggling to get funding as well, grants as well. But we really work with our partners to do everything we can to help them get the funding, because we're very proud. Besides the Fox Valley's at Presbyterian Church here in Geneva, as well as one or two other programs, Lyle, a couple of others, where they've charged for books or done small amount, charges. All of our programs. So for over 1,000 parents, it's all been free. And we only can do that when we're investing with a community or with an institution to make that program available and remove the barriers. So the program's not only free, but we provide a dinner, a positive social dinner. We provide the children's program or child care, and we provide the program for free when we have community partners. So it's either through community partners or we're working every day to get funding to do the programs where there is not a funding source.
Very good. Where would people look to get more information on?
We have a website, and I think that if you took brochures, on the back of the brochures, you have all of the contact information. We do have an upcoming event. Mayor Burns will be hosting us at FONA coming up on November 30th. It's going to be a wonderful event. I think there's contact information on that. I didn't bring Tri-City Family Services flyers. We didn't have them available as I was running out, but I could leave with you a calendar about that program, and I could leave a copy of our annual report, 2017 annual report with you. I do have business cards, and I could leave a few business cards with you as well.
Well, for the viewing public, where this is broadcast to billions and billions of people, that website is www.changingchildrensworlds.org. Changingchildrensworlds.org. So
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.